and all, yeah. Um, you had two movies come out at the same time, The Matrix and X-Men. Did you see that yet? Yeah, check that one out. It's got a lot going on in it. It's got a lot going on in it. As far as The Matrix, I know that they setting it up for the third one, which is coming out on the 5th of November. The third movie, but also you got this is interesting because this one came out on the 15th. What's that? May 15th. And it was interesting because there was an eclipse that night. It was supposed to be this so-called Planet X that they've been talking about. It's all on the internet. There's even a book out on it, on the Planet X. And they said the Planet X was supposed to hit on May 15th. And this book, I think the book came out a year ago or whatever, and it was planning all this stuff about this Planet X. So it's just interesting how the movie came out around that particular time, and also came out right after the so-called the Iraqi war. Everything is planned. You know what I'm saying? Right after the Iraqi war. They had the eclipse. I think when it wasn't a full moon. It was a lunar eclipse and all. And they had all that and stuff going on. I thought it was a good movie in a particular, with two aspects. Number one, they're doing two things, but I think that in one way, because both of you saw the movie? You saw it? Yeah. Okay, one way, when they went down to Zion, that was all black and African looking and the whole 9 yards and stuff like that. And they gave, what's his name, a longer fight scene, Morpheus. But I just got this sense also that it's also like that they're setting it up for one thing. Number one, you have, they even recognize in the movie that everything is rooted in Africa. That's why it was all black. They even had the people from The View. It had your girl, the one, she's on the cover of this thing right here, Star Jones on the show The View that comes on, and she was saying that she just noticed how they kind of did away with the color thing, but they really didn't do away with this other thing because a lot of the people was black. But and she said, but she didn't get this sense of color in the movie, and I'm like, you didn't get the sense of color because they added all, because it's one of the few movies where there's just all these white folks and stuff like that, with all these white folks, which leads up to the other question, because the other woman that was a part of The View, this other Italian woman that sits at the table, she was saying, well, we do know, she said that we know in my culture, or in my race, she was talking about Italian Americans, that the birth rate is extremely low. And so she said, well, and so it looks like it's going to come to a beige type of non-white society, she said, and they made comments that even your boy Keanu Reeves is part Chinese, part Filipino, or part like Hawaiian. Mm-hmm. Part Hawaiian, and they made comments that he was part Hawaiian and different things like that also in the movie. So they made and stuff. So she said, well, look like they're not gonna be no black, no whites here in the future. Then she said, and maybe that might be for the better. This is what the white woman was saying. And also you get this sense that they're trying to make this thing in this particular movie part. But then again, on the other hand, metaphysically, what they're also trying to do, you have the old eon in metaphysics, or the ancient gods, and then you have what is called the new gods. So on one hand, metaphysically, what they're trying to do here it is, I get this sense that the white boy is still the Messiah. You see what I'm saying? And they come in and they had all these different races of people come in and put all the stuff down by the door and stuff like that and all. So it's still got that same, in one aspect, it's real cleverly done that it got this same Jesus, white Jesus, Messiah thing extended, which they can't run this shit with the regular old Christianity thing, so they got this extended in this movie, real sophisticated movie, and they got this whole thing extended as this whole thing extended into, we still looking for that non-black Messiah. Now, I'm still talking ahead of myself because the simple fact I don't know what the third movie is about. And when it was talking to the cast members, and it was the cast members on Charlie Rose, and it was talking to the cast members, they said that what they saw was they said you got the machines that's ruling and you got the humans that's ruling. And so in so many words they kind of asked them, well, what you think is going to be the ultimate? You think it's going to be the ultimate thing as far as the machines ruling or the humans ruling? And they ultimately said that it'll be a little bit of both. So they kind of gave up the third movie a little bit on how they're going to try to fit this thing in the aspect of how they're going to try to do this thing in the aspect of whether they're going to balance it out with stuff. And you don't get this sense that they're going to actually destroy the Matrix. As when you saw in the movie when they got in the little room, they told him that hell he was a part of the anomaly. He was written into the script. So so it's kind of unfair to say where it's going, where it's going. You know what I'm saying? They've already identified the Oracle, the sister as the Oracle, as a part of the whole Matrix thing, or a part of the whole grand thing, or the Great Mother type thing also. So that was very interesting. They had a couple of mythological characters when they went down into remember the girl that was that wanted to kiss Neil in the movie. Her name was Persephone, but she was being held prisoner in so many words by this guy in black, which in so many words represented a form of Hades. What would they call his name? The Miravengi or something like that.
Something like that.
Which is a part of Hades. That's all in a part of the mythology. So they going somewhere with the whole thing and all. But still yet it's a big ritual being done because of the simple fact it was released on the 15th and on that eclipse. You see, on that eclipse. All this stuff, it is tied in. It's just like when, right before the war, when George Bush said he gave the ultimatum, he told Saddam Hussein to surrender. He had 48 hours to surrender. But that Sunday, before he came on TV and made the surrender and said he had 48 hours to surrender, they had the Children of Doom that started on Sci-Fi Channel. But you know the Doom starts on Arrakis, the Sand Dunes, Sandstorm, the Children of Doom. So we still got this whole ritual going on. And they pushed it all the way back up into the 21st, which was the spring equinox. You see what I'm saying? So they started right on the spring equinox with the whole war thing that's going on. So you see this whole ritual thing that's going on with all that, and the movies is also tied into that also too. Like take for instance, I think that on May 2nd, I think they released the X-Men on May 2nd. All that stuff is tied in, which is very key because that's one of the movies you need to go see because that's a movie where they had a lot more dialogue in there of what was actually going on, and that's one that you need to see. Like take for instance, it was like man versus the machines. It was also mutants versus the humans in Matrix. As well as they got Terminator 2 coming out again, the Terminator 3, which is man versus the machine also too. So it's still this ritualistic thing that's actually going on. But the whole concept here, which was a dynamite movie, don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? They ain't gonna spend that much money to make. Let's be honest, they ain't gonna spend that much money to make the black man the Messiah. I mean, they came close. I mean, if you want to put it pound for pound of us. White people putting black people in movies. They did the most of whatever you can see as far as between Martha's and Martha. They even had the boxer in there.
Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah, Roy Jones Jr. Him and stuff like that. And all that had the guys Cornel West, the scholar Cornel West up in there. So they when you see that and all, they did do a lot and all but still yet now it's still a ritual in the aspect of they're still scared of some things or something like that, or these things have to be. All these things are to be tied in. Like take for instance, I don't know if that's out on video yet. The second part of the Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers. I don't know if that's out on video because it should be coming. It should be coming sometime this summer because I know that the Harry Potter thing is out on video and they was released the same time, but sometimes they put the children's videos out a little faster. But in that one, there's a lot of stuff that's going on in this movie. It's a whole different wars against different types of races and stuff in this movie that you're going to also see that if you can somehow coincide with the whole Iraqi war, the whole Iraqi war. So going back, these things, the key here is that these things are major rituals. And now this movie is already, but in the first week, it has made the most money of any movie ever in history. You see what I'm saying? On the first week. You know, some movies topple off. This movie made 180 million in the first week and 93 million the first day. And that's just the first week. You see what I'm saying? 180 million, you know, and it would have made more than that, but the Spider-Man thing, you know, they had, because they got a whole child audience that they couldn't get the rated, you know, they had to keep it rated R, but it would have made it more than that if it was just rated PG. You see what I'm saying? So that whole thing and all. So that whole thing that went down that way. So it is still a ritual that is actually going on. That's actually going on. But it was. I think they're gonna to say it's the second. It was the sequel and it's the third. They got another movie to do. They did very well in the aspect of putting that much stuff in a movie. In the second movie, they did very well. They say they got another third movie that they got to deal with, and also too, you know. So this is very interesting. It's very interesting on how that thing went. What's that?
I wanted to ask you. We were talking about a little bit earlier, but why does it take? We're talking about the African woman. Why does it take? It seems to take her to get to her 50s or close to 60 before she realizes what she really needs in a man. Why doesn't that occur earlier in her 20s or 30s? Why does it seem to be the pattern?
Well, I think that take for instance, what we're just talking about here is this here. What has been being discussed is in the matter of case study. A lot of the sisters now that is 40 plus, this 40 plus, they're saying that that's a hell of a jump from the Matrix, but it all.
I know.
A lot of it is very interesting though, because these are things that the sisters are actually searching, and it was some things that they said. Well, the younger sisters might not know what they want. Well, see, in retrospect, there's a lot of sisters, conscious sisters, that's in this. Let's say from 44 on up, 44, 45, 50, 55, 56, and all, and they're saying, well, in retrospect, that they knew that when they were young, that they didn't too much care for nice guys. The whole concept of a person that's very nice was the whole concept of the kindness for weakness type thing. You see what I'm saying? So they were saying that also, in retrospect now, because they've lived that particular part, you know, they don't have time for the thug or whatever type of a person that they feel that they used to like when they was young. That's not an option now, but they say too often the whole concept of youth is wasted on the young. The whole concept of not knowing but then it's at a disadvantage. Here you got so many people, so many brothers in prison. It was based on the government and stuff and all, based on, you know, a lot of things as far as dysfunction sexually with a lot of males, and a lot of males being dead at that particular age, you know. Not necessarily the 40s, but when you start hitting in the 50s and the 60s, it start petering off. And it's just in the case study aspect, this is an observation that not only an observation not based on a case study that I did, but a case study what a lot of sisters are observing, a lot of older sisters that's observing. So it's just one of those types of things also, that particular concept, which means we are quick to pinpoint what the brothers ain't doing. You know, that's not just just black society. That's been white society for the last, just society in general for the last 35 years, based on women's live. And we understand why, because when it came to the white man, motherfucker had his wife as his woman as a straight up robot and a slave. But as a result, there's been a lot of research based on the what they call the male ego or the what you call it and all that. Not necessarily saying that this stuff is not true. But then again, on the other hand, when it comes to pinpointing some things, here's a pathology that some of the sisters have taken from white women, was that somehow the person who treats them, especially at a young age, a person who treats them with a certain amount of aloofness, reserve, brutality, or whatever you want to call it, that particular person, he is admired compared to somebody that's actually nice. And so they say, well, you know, I can't imagine being with somebody who don't treat me a certain way. But it's always in retrospect that a person says that, because we've noticed an ongoing cycle also in the sisters. You see what I'm saying? Over and over and over again and all, but here it is again, still this archetype of why you like this particular person. Take case in point, I went to Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina, with a nigga from New York named Greg Callis. And this brother would get in fights, go to jail every semester, get in fights, and do all kind of stuff, and for 4 years, until the school just said, fuck it, we throwing you out. You ain't gonna get no degree, you're not gonna get nothing. We're tired of you. You see what I'm saying? And I remember the day he was going home, and this guy here, obviously we was talking about a form of mental illness. You see what I'm saying? Because the person is tall, and because he's functional in the aspect that he's not walking around in polka dot drawers on the campus, because he's functional in the aspect of society, he's still mentally ill. He's a psychopath. So the day that they threw him out, I remember he had a girl, they had to damn near saw her off his neck. So here it is, here's a guy that's mentally deranged, but he never had no problem with no women. You see what I'm saying? As an observation and stuff like that. And they're looking at this as the same archetype of the doggone sisters, of the kind of man that some of these sisters, these younger sisters even like. And in this particular society, they ain't getting no better, because hell, that's even worse now with the hip-hop generation saying shit, you know, the whole thug nigga type thing, which is interesting here, because here's a article here. Even in this particular part, here's an article here where they were saying that dark-skinned women are being banished to the background of rap videos. So they did a survey on most of the sisters that's in the foreground and the sisters they interact with, and the real dark-skinned ones is always in the background. They'll be at the pool side and stuff like that, but that would not be the one that the video is centrally focused around. It's essentially focused on. So it's just the same, here it is again. Everything here is the same ongoing pathologies that we got to deal with. That we got to deal with. But on the good hand, like I said, let's because we got such a low audience right now for this is day one in Charlotte. I want to put that out there and all. And this is like a refresher breather where we kick it around, so we're gonna do the question and answer thing tonight and different things like that and all. So any questions right quick before we got plenty of commentary, but any questions right now on anything? Because we got plenty of things to discuss. One thing is we always doing research to try to find out what is the next center of power. I want to what is the next center of power of certain energies or certain things that's going on the planet. Some new information is coming out about Cuba, and that is that before Castro, quote unquote, took over, might I add, now Castro was also, here it is again, because it's the same thing that's going on with Iraq, with Iran, with the Al-Qaeda thing with so-called bin Laden. Isn't it funny that every time we have a so-called adversary, the adversary is always friends to the United States government before they become an adversary. Now we know that Saddam Hussein was backed by the American government. He was funded by the American government, and all intents and purposes, we do know that the whole concept of them having this war, which they didn't find Saddam Hussein, and they didn't find no weapons of mass destruction. Well, number one, they didn't find Saddam Hussein because it wasn't supposed to find Saddam Hussein. That was not the objective. Saddam Hussein was gone before the damn war even started. You see what I'm saying? That they blew up a whole building and couldn't find him. But the main thing here is they went up in there to get ancient artifacts from that particular area. And they basically completely hauled off the whole museum and then blamed it on loot. You see what I'm saying? Now, the reason why we say that here is because so a lot of the black people are saying, you know, well, what's so big about Iraq or Iran or whatever? What they don't understand here is we got to get out of this whole continent of Africa being the central aspect of the ancient world, because it was not. It was one continent at one time and one people. So whenever you look at Iraq or Iran or Syria, Persia, or any of those particular places are being secondary to Africa, what you don't realize is those are just as ancient African states as the continental Africa, because we're not counting continental drift or some cataclysmic thing that would separate these particular continents. So what I'm trying to get at is the artifacts or whatever was in that particular area was very ancient. Now, we're not necessarily saying, we don't get in this thing about what came before others, because we understand if it was one landmass, that means that the shit that's in Peru is just this ancient. You see what I'm saying? This, you know, we gotta get out of this continental thing. They got us locked into one continent. You see what I'm saying? Into one continent. And so therefore, as African people, we're still saying, well, that don't have nothing to do with us. You see what I'm saying? And that is a consensus agreed upon, even with the Afrocentric movement that started 14, 15, 16 years ago it usually started from a collegiate standpoint of view, from the college level. And they say, on the college level, they say, well, look, you can't have all the land. You got to pick a piece, because we got to share this stuff with all these people. Although they know that all the land is ours, they say you can't have all the land. So as a result, they essentially focus stuff around Africa. But the key here is all of that land, ancient Persia, which was ancient Babylonia, or ancient Samaria, and ancient Mesopotamia, or whatever you want to call these names, it wasn't nothing but Kush. In your book, Drusilla Dundee Houston's book, Wonderful Ethiopians and the Ancient Kushite Empire, it tells you that all of that was ancient Kush. You see what I'm saying? Kush, Cam, Punt. You see what I'm saying? These ancient names for Egypt, Somalia, Ethiopia. You see what I'm saying? And that particular ancient Arabia. So what we're still talking about here is ancient Kushite empire that we call Babylonia, or the Typhonian Empire. Now, I'm getting to the Cuba thing because this is very important, because it's all tied in. So, Kenneth Grant is a British occultist out of Britain. He's like the successor to Crowley. I made mention to something that the Typhonian Egyptians had these particular rituals that could destroy the earth. These are pre-dynastic Egyptians. Pre-dynastic Egyptians. And he made mention that they had stuff that could destroy the earth. He also made, so them looking at history, the Typhonians would be your Ethiopians or your Kushites that was pre-dynastic Egyptians. So the area that they also settled in with that Iraq or Babylonia, the Babylonian area, they will still have these particular rituals. So the government is saying, well, if they had rituals too that could destroy the earth, maybe there's rituals that could also saved the earth. So what it is they're trying to look for some type of ancient magic to somehow save their behinds. So they knew that in the library, because they looted the library and burned it, and in the museum in Baghdad, there was all these ancient artifacts. So the whole war was fought, not for all, because quiet is kept. If you know the history, America built the oil refineries in the whole Arabian thing. They built those oil, so it's not by oil, it was to get a hold to ancient magical aspects that was pre-Islamic. You see what I'm saying? Of that particular land. You see what I'm saying? Even Basra, which was right before they got to Baghdad, was 85% black. Now I went to an expedition in exposition in Atlanta back in 1989. It was called the Saudi Arabian Exposition. And in that exhibit, I'm walking around and they got these huge blown up pictures of Arabia. And they had Iran, the whole Saudi Arabia and the whole Islamic world. Iran, Iraq, Syria, Saudi Arabia. And I'm looking and I'm puzzled because it looked like it was I said, is this the West African exhibit? Because all the people were dark skinned. I mean, your color and blue-black. So they said when they got into Basra, it was blue-black people. Now it's interesting here because they still sequester people, and the journalists automatically know that they always make sure that they fix the cameras on the lighter-skinned people. Now it was interesting because the other day on the news they was talking, because they're having these uprisings that they're having now over there. The shit ain't over. So it's interesting here. The next thing we know, they're talking about they're having these uprisings, and here go a brother walking down the street was blacker than coal. You see what I'm saying? And so they said that most of that area, real dark-skinned people, well, I know because I saw those same people in an exhibit in 1989. They had this exhibit. So they knew that they went into this particular place, and the main thing they wanted to do, when they got there, the first thing they did is they got that stuff out of the museum. Maybe the course of the war they took to cart all that stuff out while they bombing stuff. Or you never know, that shit could have been carted out a month before they even had the war. You just can't believe anything these doggone people are doing because they set this stuff up. Wag the Dog showed you that. So now in this thing here, but all of a sudden now the next thing here, they're going to blame it on loot. You see what I'm saying? They're going to blame the whole thing on loot. Well, they blew up Panama back here in 1989 and they didn't loot everything in sight. They have had wars where they didn't loot everything, you see, but that was the key. One of the main keys was to also get back up in that particular area, which leads us to Saddam Hussein and all his children and all this thing here, his sons. The whole concept here is it was all fake. They wasn't going to catch him in the first place. What's that?
What they're going to do is when they looted those things, later on they're going to come in and wipe out the darker people, and then they're going to change the artifacts and put their faces on.
That's what you can't rule that out because the simple fact
when they start
that's what
ancient people were.
That's right.
They say, well, these are the people. And
they always do that. They did that in Greece. They did that in Rome because the Romans were started by the Etruscans and the Greeks were started. Greece was started by the Etruscans because we still talking about the ancient black people and all. Now remember I said that I saw some Greeks in 1995 working at some place in Atlanta, and they all had nappy hair. You know, and as a brother, it looked like some black people, fair-skinned black people with nappy hair. And I'm like, well, if they had got hair looking like this in 1995, what the hell do you think they looked 2,000 years ago? You see what I'm saying? 2,000 years ago. As well as your boy, Dr. Charles Finch said that the Greeks had an 85% sickle cell rate. All of the Greeks. And you know the sickle cell rate, that means you got this, that's Africa. You see what I'm saying? So when you deal with this whole thing here, that's another thing, like it's saying, they, to ethnic cleanse. Now this is interesting here, because like you said, they can do that. They can go in, they can wipe out those black people. You see what I'm saying? And then ethnic cleanse them. I saw a book in 1998 about Bosnia. And in the book in 1998 in Bosnia, they was talking about the ethnic cleansing. But here again, they was cleaning off them last vestiges of black people in that whole Russia area, Bosnia, and all this type of stuff that, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, all this type of stuff, it was cleaning up these type of people. So that could be a very well, you can't rule out the fact that if you cart off all of the museum pieces and put them on lockdown throughout Europe and then come back and even build new pieces for the museum, or say you found these new pieces, they'll look awfully white.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. You see, they look awfully white because we know that there was so-called a renaissance that happened in the late 1800s where they had artists and artisans and all of those particular people that went all over the. They got artisans from all over Europe to go down into Greece and Rome and basically carve the statues that you see now.
Yeah.
It's all European looking. And then just basically, you know, knock off a few arms. Never the noses like they did in Egypt. But knock off a few arms and make the stuff look old. Now we know that can happen because the University of Chicago with John D. Rockefeller. Mm-hmm. Most of the John D. Rockefeller lived in the 20th century. You see what I'm saying? The first part of the 20th century. So most of the buildings on the campus was financed by John D. Rockefeller. And he went there and after they got through building all these buildings, he was like, these shits look too new. Make them old. And they went in there and you can go to the University of Chicago now, this shit look like it's 200 years old. It look like some shit from England. They made them old. So we know that they can make shit look old all they want to. You see what I'm saying? So they just some big liars. Now take for instance, huge liars. Now, so my point here is they wasn't gonna catch him in the first place. I told people they wasn't gonna catch him because he works for them. You see what I'm saying? He works for them. The whole concept here, the sons and all this type of stuff here. Now it's interesting here because now there's some spiritual things that's also happening too. Number one, and Dr. Delbert Blair talked about this because they played it on the Art Bell show, where they was talking about how they took pictures and they had a soldier that was in the Iraqi war and he had the flag upside down, which means distress signal. Now, no fool, these people put up the flag every day. Now, unless I'm mentally retarded and I don't even fuck with the flag, if I'm gonna put a flag on a pole, I'm gonna automatically know if the flag is upside down. They had the actual flag upside down, and this is what the guy Richard Hoagland, that wrote the book Monuments on Mars, and the guy he's worked with NASA and all that stuff, talked about the whole thing about the flag upside down in Iraq, which means it's a distress signal. Mm-hmm. So if it's a distress signal, that means that obviously there was some shit that was going on over there. They was getting their ass whipped. Now this is the key. They announced the other day, they said that we're gonna need additional soldiers to come over here. Now although they've been killing 1 or 2 every day now. The shit has escalated. They get at least 2 or 3 a day. They kill 2 or 3 guys a day. The guy said, well, that means we're gonna keep the soldiers over here for as long as it takes. And they said, well, how many is that? They said, we got 100,000 soldiers. Now, wait a minute. You're getting 2 or 3 people getting killed each day. And you mean to tell me that you can get a regular police force to damn, hell, it was getting you got to get more than 2 or 3 people getting killed each day in a regular city, in a regular major city. Mm-hmm. Here it is, you get 2 or 3 soldiers killed each day, and they say, no, we got to keep 100,000 soldiers over here, plus we are sending for additional troops. So they done had 2 boats to come in, and they were actually sick when they came in. It was all coming down, so she would get into that in a few minutes. But the 2 boats was coming in, and yet they got to turn them around, and they said they need an additional troops. Well, even Phil Valentine, when I was up in New York, had made mention that they were still over there fighting. They were fighting, and they were fighting underground and all different places like that. And they were still over there fighting. Now here it is again because the guy Richard Hoagland came in and said there was a distress signal. So apparently something's going on and they got heavy casualties. There was one people, they'll have some things, they had reports, they had reports that it was major casualties that was going on over there with American soldiers. So they done went over there and they done bit off some stuff. All of a sudden now, the last week, they're talking about this hostile environment and the stuff started to escalate, and now they're saying they need these particular soldiers to stay. You see, so it's now, one of the keys here is, they said, well, if they got all these soldiers, they said, well, who's on the army bases here in America? Remember now, they closed down so many army bases during the 90s. They say, who's on the army bases? They said, foreign troops.
Yeah, that's what's going on.
Now, this is the key. You got the UN that opposed it because they snubbed the UN, put their finger up at the UN. So the UN didn't so-called send no soldiers. They're fighting for us, but you know the UN got our army too. Right. So who are these foreign troops? See, that's the mystery. You may like that you got a split between the so-called UN. You sent all American troops out. The ones you got here is foreign troops. Now this is the mystery because Bill Cooper talked about this 7, 8 years ago. He said that, because the whole shit is about lockdown America. And he said, well, if you got soldiers, black or white, they're going to be reluctant to lock down their own mama. So you're going to have to go get soldiers from Russia.
Foreign troops.
Or foreign troops who do not have no allegiance with you.
Yeah, I got inside information on that. They're training out in the Midwest. In different parts, like they've been trained up in the mountains. I've been up in the mountains recently. Because I've been having a little situation myself here, and I've been up in the mountains. And I've seen some things where they actually go in the mountains. They got tanks and stuff all up in there. And I just recently also, I gave some information to some people I'm dealing with here in Charlotte about, you can look at the back of the most street signs or highway signs. They got some special tags on the back of them that glow in the dark. You can't see them when you're riding down the road, but if you look behind them,
that's true.
These little markers show you, these are for people that's with FEMA, to where they're going to be having certain people taken.
That's true.
Like there's an underground city right here in Charlotte.
Well, see, this is interesting because, see, he said the same thing. You would be reluctant, Bill Cooper said this before they killed him right after 9/11, that you'd be reluctant to lock down your own people. But you get the foreign troops.
Yeah, they'll do that. That's what we're going to do with it.
To come in. Now, this is the key. The foreign troops, and because the so-called UN, and they got Kofi Annan, which is the head of the UN, this is the other mystery here. And I talked about this, I think I talked about this the last couple times I was here. I did a lecture in Denver. Well, I did a lecture in Denver. When I did the lecture in Denver, they got a huge airport that they built out there. It's this thing, and a couple of people that talked about it. This is all kind of real mysterious, Masonic, and all kind of stuff that's all encoded all on the artwork and stuff. So when I was coming back, I looked, and then this is literally 1 month after the buildings blew up at 9/11. And I'm coming back, and I look up, and the whole airport is African. And the first thing I registered, well, these might be students, but I'm looking, and these people are in their late 30s, 40s, and in their 50s. These ain't no damn students, like they imported these people over. So I'm like, what the hell? Denver is 3% black, or 2% black. Denver, Colorado. What the hell, they got all these Africans out here. So I said, well, what I'm gonna do? I said, well, look, well, here it goes again. I said, well, let me go. I said, well, maybe I didn't notice, but I knew that the Hartsfield International Airport in Atlanta is all black. So I go back out to Hartsfield, and in less than a couple of months, all of those were replaced with Africans. You see what I'm saying? So here goes again now. They can't use regular black people. They got to use people who don't have allegiance to you. They got to use foreigners. They don't know your struggle. So they got a big thing that's going on all over the country now because they get ready to mess black men up with the child support thing. And although the sisters don't understand, it ain't got nothing to do because the white man value the black child and he want the black man to support the child. They got a whole thing now that the child support thing now is the new crack cocaine where they can lock up people. In this particular case, it don't have to be the so-called quote-unquote thug nigga. It could just be anybody who has a child. So as a result, I was in Pittsburgh 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I was in Pittsburgh, and they didn't have nothing there but, and in addition, one of the brothers who brought me in was a police officer.
Damn.
And I'm like, well, what's up? He said, man, ain't nobody locked up in them jails with people on child support. He said everybody down there is brothers on child support. In New York, it was the brothers on child support, and he said it's a humiliating experience. He said, why? He said, because they ain't got nothing but Africans that's down there handling your ass. And foreign black people that don't have an allegiance to you. You see what I'm saying? So we still talking about now. So they got all these so-called troops who would have an allegiance when the uprising start. They go, fuck that. I'm not gonna knock down my mama. They over in Iraq. Get ready to go into Syria. Get ready to go in Iran. They could keep them over there indefinitely. Because remember now, they didn't even bring the other ones home from Afghanistan.
I've been saying this for the last couple of months. What they're doing is they send them over there.
Right.
Because when the cat's away, the mice will play.
Right.
And at the same time, there's an occult war going on over here.
That?
In fact, I mean, this might sound kind of off track. They've been using some occult shit here in Charlotte against some of the Moors here in Charlotte. Because, in fact, some of them came after me using Akasha. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, because I have an oracle that teaches me certain things. And what I had to do, I had to leave. I had to actually get the hell out of Charlotte and go to the damn mountains. That's when I seen the damn troops up in there that you talking about.
Yeah. Well, see, they got that. They got the whole country on lockdown in the particular aspect of, why is it 2 weeks ago, they so-called went to an orange alert. They still on orange alert because orange alert is what, one before red alert? Now, when I went into the Homeland Security today,
Right.
it was fucking orange alert. It's still on orange alert. You see what I'm saying? And orange alert, and I'm looking at this thing going, wait a minute now. You didn't know when the people blew up the building because you blew up the building. You don't know nothing. People can get away with any damn thing. You can't even find Saddam Hussein. You can't find Bin Laden. But you know when there's a terrorist attack. They don't never happen. Now remember now, they done had, since 9/11, they done had about 10 of these alerts and nothing happened. That ought to let you know that the whole thing was fake in the first place. So we still under this so-called orange alert type deal. Now this is one of the keys here is, you don't have nothing, these army bases is full. And it was actually because of the brother Phil Valentine, they said, well, who's on the army bases if the people are still over there? He said, they foreign troops. It's over there. That's the whole concept why you couldn't let the UN, you had to be against the UN thing that went down. Remember the UN? Because the UN provided the troops to put the people on lockdown here because the UN is the damn Homeland Security people. You see, or whatever the UN, and see, Bill Cooper been talking about the UN troops would be the FEMA, the UN troops would be the ones that put people on lockdown when the shit go down the way it does. You see what I'm saying? So this is very key on how this whole thing is going is actually going down. Now, a few other things on this Iraq thing, because there's two things going on. Because, like I said, there's also a spiritual aspect behind that. There is an occult aspect behind that. Now, in Arabic and in Hebrew and in Hemmitt, there's this word. It's called something else in Hebrew, but in Arabic and Hemmitt it's called KHAMSEN, Kamsen, which means heavy, strong wind. But they specifically say in both the Arabic as well as the Hebrew that this heavy wind, these windstorms, are spiritual.
Yeah.
Now, in the Hebrew, the word spirit and the word wind is the same. So they have these spiritual aspects. Now, remember now, America got caught in those spiritual things, those windstorms, before the war started. They was on lockdown for damn near 2 days, 2.5 days. It was in this windstorm. Now, that carries a whole aspect of these spirits or these jinns. You see what I'm saying? 'Cause you get the word jinn, it's not negative in the aspect of what people think. These are forces. You get the word jinn, you get the word genie. It's all the same thing. You get the word genius. These are spirits. These are spirits and all. So these particular spirits of these jinns and stuff was on there, and they own the actual soldiers.
Yeah.
This is very key right now, what's going on here. There's some stuff that's going on. There's some spiritual things that's going on. But my point here is they've already had a distress signal. Now my point here, even if the guy put the flag upside down by mistake, why in the hell would a movie camera or somebody, a newsreel, show this thing? But he put it, they don't make the mistake.
Well, they did that so that when they show that on the media, certain people in government or the people
Exactly.
would know that's a code word to let them know.
Yeah,
It's
we are under heavy
when you was talking about all the
attack.
the rainstorms and stuff that's
Yeah.
been going on right here, like it's been raining every day. It's like for like 3 to 4 solid weeks period. Milk in my house would not because my oracle told me that anytime milk goes sour in your house,
Yes.
and you just bought damn milk, that's an indication that your house is being bewitched or somebody's bewitching you.
Yeah, that was also in the movie Warlock.
Right.
Remember that in
Right.
the movie Warlock, the first one, when the milk goes bad,
What?
sours. In the movie Warlock,
What movie more?
there's a movie called Warlock. In the movie Warlock, it came out in 1991. It's Warlock.
I seen the movie, but I don't know about
Yeah,
the one, man.
there was a part in the movie when they went to an Amish. They went to a field house, and there was an Amish guy there. And the Amish guys, he said his house is bewitched. He said, I can see there's some bewitched. He said, why? Because he looked and the milk had soured.
I gotta look at that movie.
Huh?
Warlock, right?
Warlock.
I heard about the movie.
Yeah, it's in the movie, and the milk soured in the movie. So that is a aspect of it. Also, we also can't rule out also this too. During the same time that the war started, now this is one of the keys here. Same time the war started, the movie Core came out. Now the movie Core, all this stuff started messing up all the weather, people started dying, like shit is happening now.
Yeah, they built a big penis, they went into the womb.
Right. In the movie now, but when they went in there to try to, the people that was in the movie, the core, they went in to try to fix the core of the earth. But in the movie it had come out that it was a group like HARP.
Right.
The government was fucking with the core, and that's what messed it up in the first place. Why they had to go down there, and they had a black man who was the builder of the ship.
Yeah.
Delroy Lindo.
Right.
To go down, but when in the movie it had come out that it was the government that was beaming stuff. And this is very key because two things is happening. When they went to Iraq, they was dropping bombs and different things down there because they was trying to shut down a certain amount of energy because they had found there was portholes over in that
They
particular
looked for
area.
the Stargate, the other piece of Stargate.
Yeah.
I was about to say that earlier,
Yeah.
but I didn't know if you was going to go
Yeah,
there. because
it
what's
was
been going on
portholes.
is they've been going in to go through the gate. At the same time, somebody else been sending somebody else through the gate and been fucking up shit.
It's a battle of some type of vortex or what they call Stargate that's in that area, and they said that they wanted access to it. Now, one of the keys here is one of the keys here is this, Zachariah Sitchin's work deal with a lot of that. There's a book called Flying Serpents and Dragons by R.A. Boulay, and he deals with the whole
Boulay Society.
No, this is an actual a guy's name.
Yeah, okay.
R.A. Boulay. This is a white guy. Anyway, he deals with this. It's called Flying Serpents and Dragons, and he deals with that particular thing also. In the whole book, the majority of the book that he's talking about this stuff, when he talks about vortex and he talks about these energies, is all centered around here again, Iraq. Now, the key here is, they were doing this bombing and they was doing a whole lot of stuff. This movie Core came out at the same time. Now, at the same time the movie Core comes out, this spring, we in June in Sunday,
yeah.
And it's been freezing. They actually wiped out spring, because spring it was either raining or cold. This is unheard of in the South. You see, I've been in Atlanta at least 16 years, and I've never seen nothing like this. You see what I'm saying? I never saw it in South Carolina and stuff like that and all, you see. So that's all, see, again, that's still also a part of heart. You see, they modify this type of thing. Now, one of the keys here is because they know, well, two things. They know that they're trying to push this thing to get the people as much cold as possible to offset some stuff, because one thing is happening. They know that this summer is supposed to be one of the hottest summers ever. That's one of the keys. As also too, it makes sense if the gas companies is into some shit, you would want it to stay cold long enough so the gas companies can make their damn money. So they got a whole lot of things that's going on that type of thing here and all. But also too, the other key here is with Iraq and with heart here is this. They're trying. The Earth also has a Kundalini energy. We know this, your book, what's my man name? Peter Tompkins' book. He has a book called Secrets of the Great Pyramids, but he has another book called Secrets of the Mexican Pyramids. And in that particular book, he talks about how even the people in Mexico, how they found these particular indigenous people, which you know come from Olmec or whatever. And in that particular, in Mexico, those particular people, they do this ceremony to unleash the Earth's Kundalini. Now, that means that there's a certain thing as this particular Kundalini rising. And I also talk about the book, Mark Balfour's book, The Sign of the Serpent, where he talks about how the Kundalini is rising on the planet. So that means that the Kundalini rises on the planet, the Kundalini energy rises in us. So what's happening here is that they are shooting radar beams back down in the Earth. They're shooting this electromagnetic, whatever this stuff they do with heart, back down in the Earth to keep the Kundalini energy low. One thing is this particular reason also too. That is why a lot of the people now have low sex drives. And it's not just the males. A lot of sisters don't feel the urge to be horny no more. That is because the Kundalini energy, that the heart is fucking with some shit also too, to keep a certain amount of energy down, because they know that is the liberating force, or the particular return of the Shakti power, or the Shakti energy, or the Kundalini energy. So the whole heart thing is going on. Now going back to Iraq, it has a lot to do because that's also a part of an area, one of the parts of the area where they found these particular vortex or stargates and stuff, and they had to go in there and bomb shit. But it just messed shit up even more, because when they got there, it was too late, because when they had the windstorm come, the Kamsin, and they got caught in it for 2 days, whatever it is, it's already, whatever it is, it was already unleashed. Now this is the key, because they had one woman on CBS News that said that they said that every museum in the world, quote unquote, got in touch with the United States government and said, whatever you do before you even go up in there, make sure that you secure all of the artifacts. Now, we know these people are cultists. We know these people are secret societies. We know that they're more interested in the artifacts and the ancient mysteries that they can do in the world than they are oil that they got oil wells capped in damn Texas. We know that they own the fucking oil. We know that they ain't got nothing to do with no oil. We know they don't have nothing to do with no Saddam Hussein, because they put him in power. We know that it has something to do with the center of power. It has something to do with this mystical science that part of the earth which is Northeast Africa for the people and Kush, that particular part of the earth was dealing with, and they was trying to get hold of that Stargate type of energy, and so as a result, that's why they couldn't bring Saddam Hussein in. They ain't found no weapons of mass destruction or no kind of stuff like that. No, they haven't found no weapons of mass destruction. Now they're talking about going up into Syria and Iraq, and Syria and Iran. Now they're going back to Iran. So they're still saying, well, look, we'll just keep the troops over there. If you want to, we'll have something new to deal with when it comes to these people in about a month or in about the end of the year. For the simple doggone fact, these damn fools here are willing to believe any of this shit that the damn TV tell them. You see what I'm saying?
When I was in the mountains, I was around a bunch of Europeans, and everybody up in there was acting like they was us. The Europeans were wearing our attire, and they was wearing dreadlocks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, it's the damnedest thing I've seen in my life. I mean, they all up there, they in the glow balls and crystals and all that.
Well, you see that in the movie The Matrix. And might I add, even in the movie The Matrix, that why is it that also the top figures in the movie was all white? You know, even had the black guy who was fussing with Morpheus, and he was of the command of the ships, but his boss was a white man. And then when they went to the council, the white woman had an old ass white woman up there with fucking dreadlocks on. You see what I'm saying? With dreadlocks on. So this is very key on that particular aspect.
But let me finish what I'm telling you. You're not gonna. I ran into a girl up there in the mountains, and her name was Akasha.
Black girl or white girl?
She was a mulatto.
Mm-hmm.
Her name was Akasha. Mm-hmm. And we had got to talking, right? And some things that transpired and everything, I'm not going to get all into that. Mm-hmm. But what I'm trying to explain to you is...
You hit it or something?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
You hit it or something?
Yeah. You hit it. That's what it was.
Nah, I hit it.
I was going to
Okay.
hit it.
I mean, damn, we all
But
broke.
at the same time,
Yeah.
there are people there's been people in this area using Akasha energy to try to suppress the things we got going on around us. Mm-hmm. You follow what I'm saying?
Well, in one way, whatever it is and stuff, you gotta understand, whatever they doing and stuff like that, no, they messing with stuff that is in our favor in this particular aspect, because whatever they doing is damn light work based on some spiritual stuff. Is actually already back. That's the reason why they went up in Iraq in the first place.
Yeah.
And went up in Iraq in the first place. But the key here is you still...
No. I'm talking about our own people are using Akasha energy against us.
Yeah, well, I'm just still saying, though. Yeah, well, but my point here is, whatever they're doing, the intelligence now, the shift, what they call it.
Right.
The shift now is already in favor of whatever it is outside of these two little individuals or whatever. They can't do nothing about the stuff. That is the reason why they got the whole country on lockdown. They don't have the country on lockdown because of some terrorism. They got the whole country on lockdown because this is the only way that they know how to arm themselves based on what is getting ready to actually jump off. Now, they're still doing rituals because they did this major ritual here the first of the year, right, with Michael Jackson.
Right.
Now, they had all this campaign against Michael Jackson. You see what I'm saying? They had all these specials on, talking all this stuff. He had to do one special to rebut the stuff, but they had all these specials on. But people don't understand. They could have put the specials on in January, or they could have put the specials on in March. They put the specials on in February to counter Black History Month. Yeah. Very key. Yeah. They put them on in February. Why is it that they take, number one, the greatest entertainer the world knows? Now, first of all, Michael Jackson, all the other stuff that we accuse him of with the lightening of the skin and the cutting off the nose, he was that shit in the 80s. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they loved him. He was that stuff long before white people considered, they loved him. You see what I'm saying? When they was loving him, he done cut his nose off and he did all this shit here. The point I'm trying to make here is, spite that, and all of a sudden they interested in his nose jobs and stuff. They wasn't interested in it in 1981 and in that 1989. No, I mean not 1981, 1991 when he did the Dangerous album. But when you start going on back, because it was actually the Dangerous album when he did Remember the Time, where he went up as the Pharaoh and all that kind of stuff. And this stuff that was the early '92, and then by '93 they done put this whole pedophilia thing on him. The key here is the late with the movie with the album Bad that came out, the Thriller. He had already whitened up and cut off his nose, and that came out in 1987. The point I'm trying to make here is they use this thing here to vilify this man. We've got to realize now, like Jermaine Jackson said, he's still the #1 entertainer. We might not think he might not be nothing here, but they still running behind the fucking cars in France and in Germany, and them white people pulling out their damn hair. So they're saying worldwide, bar none, there can't be nothing. There's nothing bigger as far as one major entertainer.
Yeah.
And so and Jermaine said, and that's one of the main reasons that they had this almost like a crucifixion. They had to go back and mess him up doing Black History Month. And I said, wait a minute, hold on, this is Black History Month. Why are they going to do this and all? And I said, wait a minute, hold on. Then they, at the same time, I said, well, is this a ritual going on? Because at the same time, they put out a special on Diana Ross and how crazy she was. I'm like, well, shit. Hell, we ain't heard of Diana Ross in damn near 20 years almost. As far as being significant with some shit. The last damn hit she had was I'm Coming Out. That was 1980. So what's the big deal? They got to do one on, but they did one on Diana Ross. They re-ran one on OJ. And they ran one on Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown. So in their rituals, although there's a Black History Month, there's also a counter. Whereas to snub us, there's also a counter ritual, because it all still boils down to one thing. But I'm like, well, black people are at their worst we've ever been. It's almost like we're not even a creative people no more. You know how black people just used to just be creative. It was just something about it, just creative. Now, we becoming one monolithic people. You see 12,000 people and all of them think the same and cut the same. I'm outside. Some brothers came out there that I had a sewer back up, and so the street, it was near the street, so it was their problem. So they had to come out. The street crew came out, so I went out there and was with the brother when they were digging the damn ditch and stuff like that. And I'm trying to get some energies from these brothers and all, and it ain't got nothing to do with whether I got knowledge or not. I'm just trying to say them same brothers 30 years ago would have had a whole another mystical energy about them. They might not knew nothing, but there would have been a certain creativity about them. These motherfuckers was dead as shit. And the Spirit said these motherfuckers need to be gassed. I mean, Spirit was like, these motherfuckers need to be gassed. It's like it was no creativity. It's like all that shit is dead now. It's like you'll see 10 people or 12 people and you can just see them getting out of the car and they all think alike. So I'm like, we're at the lowest point we've ever been. Well, why do they still want to crucify us? And it's got something to do, and I know what it is. It's got something to do with one secret society that is trying to front to be the chosen people, and they know that they are not the damn people, and that's the fucking fake Jews. Yeah. They have some of the keys behind the whole thing. You see what I'm saying?
One thing about what's going on is they don't ever come after you personally. They get you on to come after you. Farrakhan and a lot of your black leaders are going to disappear within the next 6 months. They get the fuck up out of here.
Well, which I'll entertain in a few minutes also too. Something he's a couple of things he said also too. In his last lecture. But in his last lecture, but one of the things based on Black History Month was it was still a ritual to crucify things. Now, there's one key thing that happened, and it's spiritual. Two things happened around that time. They're very spiritual. Because what's happening now is not happening with black people in the physical, because our people are dead, but it's happening on the ancestral level. It's happening with our spirits. Now, this is two things happen. During the same time they was doing this, PBS released the Emmett Till story. They did this thing, the Emmett Till story. And they released the story 1 week, and about 2 weeks later, his mother died. You see what I'm saying? And it was the Emmett Till who was the sacrificial lamb, because Rosa Parks and all that stuff didn't happen until a year later. It was him that died, and the mama decided to open up the casket, and black people said, we had enough of this shit. Yeah. So they released the Emmett Till story. Another thing happened in the state of North Carolina that was very spiritual. Charles Drew, who was the creator of the blood plasma, blood transfusion, and that whole thing with the blood work, died in North Carolina because they would not admit him to a hospital to get blood.
I know about that.
So the spirit this year, so we're going to fuck these crackers up bad. So the spirit came back this Christmas. They admit a little girl to the hospital in Duke, a little Hispanic girl, and here goes some of the top surgeons on the planet. And they kill the girl by what? Giving her a wrong blood transfusion. Something as simple as just giving her the wrong blood. They got a room full of fucking blood, and they kill her by giving her the wrong blood. My point here is, now let's look at the scientific aspect of this. You knew you had to give her blood. I'm trying to figure out what kind of fool gonna walk in a room to get some blood and did he just pick up any bag of blood? Or whatever? You understand what I'm saying? By definition of you going in a room and getting something, you gotta check what you get. You know what I'm saying? You see? And my point here is, they still baffled. How can a person die of one of the most advanced heart surgery shit? They got the shit is perfect, it goes well. And then they just die from some shit like not giving blood. I'm like, that's Charles Drew. That's ancestral shit that's going down. You see what I'm saying? That's ancestral stuff that's going down. And that's the stuff you're seeing more and more than anything is a lot of people, in some kind of way, there's some stuff that's tapping in ancestral, the ones that's awake. There's some things happening with family members and stuff that's passed on, that there's some type of air or some type of sense of them even being in the presence of you or in some type of contact. You see what I'm saying? So you had this major thing that happened with this whole thing of Black History Month. You had that Charles, you had the Emmett Till thing that went down. Very key. But meanwhile, obviously, for some reason, they just figured that they needed to counter Black History Month. They could have released all the Michael Jackson stuff, because you got to realize, although they had the 3 specials on, you should have saw the magazines on the rack. They had about 10 magazines out. What the hell? Michael Jackson ain't had a fucking hit since Dangerous album. What's all this? But see, it's a ritual going on in the process of things. They got this whole ritual that's actually going on, which means that we still talking about a spiritual warfare. Mm-hmm. Now remember, like I said, the movie Children of Doom comes out, which is Doom is the desert planet Iraq, Arrakis, right. And the movie comes out on a Sunday. Bush gives the ultimatum on Monday.
There's a ship or animal called Baracus in the Quran.
Well, the guy Frank Herbert. The guy Frank Herbert who wrote that studied Sufism for years. Now this is one of the keys also too about, you got to notice, because now they got soldiers that's coming back on the ship is coming back sick. They're coming back sick. Well, don't rule out that there's a movie that came out in the fall of last year called Ghost Ship. Yeah. But also you had the cruise ships that went out on the ocean in October and was coming back, and people were sick on these cruise ships. And that's because they went out there, and them spirits out there those spirits out there was messing them up. They put out a whole movie on this thing. So now here it is, you got the same phenomenon that's going on with people coming back sick on these cruise ships. And then all of a sudden now, they got soldiers coming home and they sick also too. But we talking about some spiritual shit that's also going down. Some spiritual stuff that's going down, because in A lot of, in the Kabbalah and a lot of the metaphysical thing, also, when you talk about spirits, also, the word spirits is also coincide with disease. There's also a whole thing with that whole thing that's going down. So it's a lot of stuff that's going on now. Then all of a sudden, last week, when they got this shit going on in Iraq, Bush announces that they're gonna finally do something about AIDS in Africa. You know, they're going to give all these billions and stuff about AIDS in Africa. And then the guy in Haiti announces that they have had 20 years of AIDS in Haiti. Now, this is amazing, because if anybody understands germ warfare or biological warfare, here's a clear example. Haiti gets AIDS in 1982 and 83. Now you got, now look at the concept here. You got homosexual white males in San Francisco, the first to come down with them. Yeah. And then you got Haiti. But people don't know Haiti shares an island with the Dominican Republic. And none of them get AIDS. You understand what I'm saying? None of them get AIDS. It's the same concept here where it says right here that in the UN smallpox vaccine in Africa triggered the AIDS virus in Africa. Every place that the black Africa where smallpox vaccine was given is exactly where AIDS broke out. Sudan refused to allow the World Health Organization of the UN to vaccinate its people against smallpox. Guess what? No one in the Sudan got AIDS. So here it is again. They went down to Haiti and they vaccinated people. They had 20 years of this stuff, and still to this day, you see what I'm saying? Nobody's dealing with this particular aspect, but this is one of the keys. So they say, oh, we're going to deal with the AIDS thing, but this is one of the keys. A month ago, 1 month ago, they announced, right, a week after they said it, Iraqi freedom, and they pulled out the fucking sign. They pulled out the statue. They give you a fucking statue being pulled down, and you believe all this bullshit. A month ago, right after the so-called war ended, they said, well, first of all, the first thing happened was right when the war was ending, people in Asia broke out with SARS, this so-called disease. Now, anywhere you know it's germ warfare, if the motherfuckers in Europe don't get it, nasty as they are, and perverted as they are, then you know if they don't get it, it's germ warfare, biological warfare. Now here it is, you got China, but here it is too. Now China, because now Iraq had, they said in one of the things on the internet was talking about there's over 50 pyramids that was so-called under Iraq. Because when they built pyramids all over this place, and they got pyramids in China that they got people you can't even get to and stuff and all, and they got pictures of it. They showed it in Nexus magazine and stuff. But isn't it funny that these people all of a sudden come down with doggone SARS?
A lot of these mountains that you see, you like just traveling, you might see something like that. That's like a pyramid.
Yeah,
that is
most of the time they're pyramids, because even the ones in China look like pyramids. Now all of a sudden they come down with SARS. Then they announced a month ago, we have isolated SARS. And they said, we've isolated SARS, we got the cure for it. And then they said, we got the cure for it, which is interferon. Now, anybody know what interferon is? Interferon is the stuff that they get from black males' children's testicles. And when what's-her-name was talking about this 10 years ago, it was like $1 million a vial. But they said that they have isolated SARS, and now they got, which is interferon, which is this this hormone, which is basically it's a most potent form of melanin that's in the black children's testicles, and that's set up the basis for the Atlanta child murders. Yeah. That's when they was doing the experiment on this shit based on the interferon. Now we didn't hear no more about it. Blair and a couple other people talked about this interferon in the early 90s, and all of a sudden now they announced a month ago that the interferon that they got is the cure. Now here's the key. There is no, first of all, whenever there's a thing, there is no biological warfare. There is no fucking SARS no more than the SARS that let's put it this way, there is no virus. It's all biological warfare. So, if you put out biological warfare, there's got to be a reason that you're putting it out. And if you put it out, that means that you're gonna, and remember now, most of the time when they put out these things, it's always the vaccines that they announce, which is the one that makes the most money. It's the one that they gotta go and lobby with. So in so many words, there is no disease, it's just pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? They will put out a cause to get a response, and the response is always whatever drug they want to put out. So we know that there is no SARS. You see what I'm saying? Because they're funny now. They announced on CBS News and CNN a month ago that they can cure SARS with interferon. Now we know when they do this, if SARS is biological warfare, we know that they are just only trying to find some kind of way to come out with the interferon. Now this is close. We're going to talk about this in the next couple of days with the interferon, because that's one of the keys. The interferon, first of all, if you go on the internet and look up interferon, one of the keys with the interferon, they said that it does, with interferon is, now they just said that they isolated the SARS a month ago, but one of the keys now secretively with this interferon over the course of 10 years, with this interferon, they're saying that it is the key thing in curing muscular sclerosis. And you know, muscular sclerosis is supposed to be your whole nervous system gets fucked up. So this is some shit that's so powerful that it kills the whole nervous system. But it's interesting because I think either right before Christmas or right after Christmas, they announced that they had cures for muscular sclerosis. They don't have cures for AIDS, but here's some shit to make a motherfucker just wheel up and just, he ain't got no part of body function or nothing, this shit here. They don't have no cure for nothing. They can't even cure damn near nothing these days. Half the shit has got all the side effects, but they can cure muscular sclerosis, and all of a sudden they can cure this damn SARS before the shit even get out. The key here is now look at the science here. They say that they can cure SARS. When you go on the internet, they say that the what's the name can cure muscular sclerosis. Is that how you pronounce the shit? I don't want to get the...
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's whatever the deal is. And they can cure this thing, but all of a sudden they said they can cure SARS before the shit even get out. And then last week, they were playing with people. They announced that they got a worker from the CDC, went over to China and caught SARS, and they had to ship him back here. Now, he didn't die like the rest of the motherfuckers. They had to ship him back here. And then they announced they got 8 cases in Atlanta. I said, oh, here comes the shit now. Look at this motherfucking shit right here now. Now, they talked about they had all these cases in Canada. Then they said that, well, there need not be no alert, because they lifted the thing and said there's no alert, it's not that bad in Canada. And all of a sudden, last Tuesday, or last Monday, they announced they got 8 cases right here in fucking Atlanta. I said, oh, this shit coming straight to niggas now. Watch it. Watch this shit. It's coming straight to Negroes. Now, one of the keys here is, whenever it breaks out, because now all of a sudden, it was West Nile disease. Now all the damn, these all commercials that's talking about this can stop West Nile disease, you know, the mosquito shit. Now watch it now, because the key here is to get you so scared till you will accept it when they come and say, oh, by the way, what does interferon come from? They say it comes from the testicles of black children. Now my point here is this: if it was $1 million a vial in 1993, how is it that they can isolate stuff, that they got all this stuff on the internet now saying that it cures muscular sclerosis and it cures SARS now, because they just announced that? That means that in actuality, they must have enough of this stuff stored up now. That anytime you announce to the public that this is the shit to get, that means you got enough stored up, like it's like aspirin now. So that ought to let you know. Where did they get it from, number one, if they can only get it from black children? And did they kill these black children? We got to look at Rwanda, when they killed 800,000 of them motherfuckers. And we gotta look at just the black children that's down here, and then we also gotta look at this bullshit here, because I always was saying this thing here, we gotta look at this old shit they sticking in these pregnant ones. What they call that shit up?
Epidemic.
Epidural.
They tried that with my son's mother, and I wouldn't let them do it.
You see, we gotta look at that shit. We gotta look at, stuff like this and all, yeah.
I mean, it's epidemic.
Yeah, right. We gotta look at these things here, and we gotta look at, because most black people think that the doctor is God. It's fair game now. I wanna know how in the hell they got enough interferon to store it up. Now, what's that?
Just like when the pineal gland experiment started, with the melatonin experiment started at Lilly Pharmaceutical in Indianapolis, with the connection with IUPUI, the university there, who has all the Stockholm of body parts in the entire world, is the IUPUI in Indianapolis. So when they were collecting the pineal glands, as well as in Washington D.C. during the early 1990s, they obviously were collecting testicles too.
Yeah, there you go. All of this type of stuff, and the catalyst was they covered up.
Yeah.
The catalyst was the Atlanta child murders, they covered up with the Wayne Williams bullshit. They got the man sitting in jail, and he's just gonna die up in there because they can't. Because to release him, to get him out, which means, well, you still got to answer the question: where did all the children go, and why is it that they done had two movies come out, the one Red Ink and one called Who's Killing Atlanta Children, where in the movies they say that the murders kept on going on. So my point here is to the point where, as if you can keep the murders going on, then this could be a culture that they start up that they can damn. They've been taking children, thousands of children, for years. Now this is one of the things about what's so scary in the particular aspect of, if they don't put shit on TV, it don't exist. So how many motherfuckers can have their children gone, and you might see a milk carton and stuff, but if they don't specifically report it, like this cracker girl that they got, and all of a sudden now she came back, and I don't believe this shit here. Now we already know what this thing is about, with this white girl that ended up missing, this summer? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden they got her, she chilling on the goddamn farm and even grinning. And stuff, and then they bring her back. And one of the keys is this here. They gotta attack the polygamy thing out in Utah. And how you do it is you make some shit perverted, say, oh, our children are at stake. And the reason why they gotta protect the polygamy thing, because they found out that polygamy don't work in capitalism. See, when you got a simple amount of women or whatever, polyandry or whatever, you got a people, and you got 6 or 7 wives, and that means you have a small community, or a small tribe, or a small sovereign nation. And see, capitalism is dependent upon the individual being in lockdown and slavery. You see what I'm saying? So if you got 4 or 5, you got a whole bunch of people working, and you got children working, you got a group that is sovereign. So therefore, it doesn't work with capitalism. Capitalism has to work with one woman, one man, one vote, stand up and be counted, but it's all based on cattle, and it's all based on individual. They always say that individual because that's slavery.
Conquer the divide.
Conquer. But see, when you got ancient mystical system or African system, whether it be polyandry with the woman having several husbands, because they had a white girl up here, she had she was married to 2 guys back here about 3 years ago, back in '99. And the government came in and said she got to choose. No, they told her, more motherfucker, you can't have none of them niggas. They told her that she couldn't even have one of them husbands. She wasn't allowed to have none of them. She was married to 2 men, and they was both living with her. So that polyandry, which we know that they had in the ancient world, but even the polygamy, which was a later day version of the polyandry, where the sister started the polygamy, the Utah. And the Mormon society, which is the whole shit, because El Morey and the Moor and all that kind of stuff, Utah and them, they had that. So to make sure that they gotta break that whole thing with polygamy, they gotta always put a bad taste in it. So what they do here is they will send some old crazy shit, the guy snatched somebody, and for the mere fact she didn't end up dead, and they traced it back to this group, that's all a part of a government sting to put a spin on this whole polygamy thing that's going down like that. No.
So they planned that anyway.
Yeah, it was the whole thing is, see, everything they doing is some form of a scripted Hollywood version of shit. You see what I'm saying? Hollywood version of stuff like that and all. So that's also a part of it. That happened with that. But my point is, this little white girl got missing and the whole country tuned in. So we know they had a black girl who was missing last summer that everybody knew. So my point here is why is it how they can have that much interferon, but if they don't put it on TV, then these children can go up missing. But then again, on the other hand, we up in their hospital so much until they can do what the fuck they want to do. Whereas Jewel Pookin was saying that they went to this thing that happened in Atlanta, and she was touring Grady Hospital. Every city has a major hospital where they got guinea pigs, and it's got a subsidiary of some major college or whatever. You see what I'm saying? In Atlanta, it's either Emory, Crawford Long, or Grady Hospital also, where they get these interns in there. Always the experiment is black people. Well, they said there was now I got two nurses that's good friends of mine work at Grady, and Jewel Pookin, who don't even live in Atlanta no more, had to come into Atlanta and tell them about a floor that's on a hospital that they working, and they've been working there since for 22 years, and they didn't even know about this area in the same place they work. And here's a foreigner, a person that came, not a foreigner, but she don't live in Atlanta no more. She came in and said that she was visiting, and she in some conference, she ended off on some floor, and she walked around the floor, and there was a whole session that talked about. And it said on there, the Atlanta Grady Memorial Research, Atlanta Grady Memorial Research section for the black man and black woman. So they got a whole shit of wing that's named after the research of black men and black women. That's in Grady Hospital. So my point here is, they do what the fuck they want to do. And stuff like that, and people so much zombies and stuff like that and all, but that's how much of the doggone interferon and stuff that they got. You see, now what does this thing do? Well, two things happening. Now, Delbert Blair said, and he kind of cleared this up also. A couple of years ago, he said that the sun was putting out these kind of harmful rays. Well, we all know that the sun put out these harmful rays, but all of a sudden, we know that it's, all of a sudden, if it's the rays that happen, these crackers been suntanning since they crawled out of Europe. But all of a sudden now, they started dying from the shit. The last 11, 12 years. That's because he said that the sun was putting out a certain ray, you see, to kill off this mutated strand or whatever this deal was, or this hybrid strand. Because a mutation is like a mushroom. That's a whole nother, you go to another level. That's what the X-Men is talking about. But this hybrid strand. And he talked about that. He said the sun was killing, and whereas we know that in Europe and stuff like that, that the children, we've been talking about all this in the past, that they can't even go out past 3 o'clock. No, they can't go out until after 3 o'clock to go play. Because they would attract the sun rays and stuff. So some of these children in Europe and some white people here. You see what I'm saying? And remember I talked about in '99 I was in Atlanta, and my ex-girlfriend Ginger and this another sister was going to this resort island, and they needed a cooler. And the girl said, I got one, but I let this white sister on my job borrow. We need to go by her house. So we go by this woman's house. And this woman comes out, and she said, y'all need to stay out of the sun. I guess she just didn't know. Y'all need to stay out of the sun. She said, look, I done put so much sunscreen on my child, and he still go out there and still get burned. I don't even let the motherfucker out the house. And stuff, and he still get burned. She said, I can't go out at all. So we know that there's some kind of rays that they're shooting down and it's killing these crackers. And this is what Delbert Blair was saying, that in actuality, although the chemtrails, they act as two things. It was dropping all this stuff on us. Obviously, the stuff is stopping now. It's not working because it hadn't killed us all off. But he said that but the chemtrails was also, because even though some of it is invisible, it's blocking out the rays, these harmful rays. But what's happening now, the rays are getting so powerful until they're breaking through the chemtrails. And now this shit is killing them. So the rays are so powerful now So that's what this whole hot thing is with the weather and stuff. They gotta keep it raining, they gotta keep a lot of shit, and and so this rain is so powerful now that they're breaking through the this stuff is, these rays is breaking through the chemtrail, and that's what they need the interferon for. They need the interferon as some type of protecting agent, because that's the most powerful shit on the planet. And the harmful rays now, he's saying the shit ain't working no more. And which I want to add this particular question also too. Now, because I was recently in New York and I was in Pittsburgh doing a lecture, and the planes can barely stay up in the motherfuckers. If I ain't had my magic on, I'm like, God damn. These shits is bouncing around just like this. I'm like, God damn, what the hell going on here? It feels just like a boat on the ocean. And I said, well, it is bad weather. You know, the last 3 weeks it was fucked up. Well, today in Atlanta, the sun was shining and everything, and when I went up, the shit was still bouncing around. I'm like, they either got some kind of shit, either it's something
They're changing
yeah.
the tone or the vibration in the atmosphere. I was taking our aircraft engineering a couple of years back, right? And one thing I know about airplanes is with so much, they have a thing called resonance that hits the wing, because actually what lifts the plane is the air.
Yeah, it does. That's right.
I'm saying
that's what lifts the plane. The plane rides that like a highway.
Right.
Yeah.
And what they're doing, they're changing the tones. From time to time, myself, I have to go and pick up a harp or a keyboard or a piano, but a harp turned sideways or some shit. And I have to play the harp or keyboard or something.
Yeah.
I have to really attune myself, or I can't even play a damn guitar. I have to go pick up a guitar and try to play a guitar just to tune myself with the vibration in the atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? And shit like that. Because what they're doing, they're changing the tones. Like when I went up in the mountains, because it's been a whole May Day for me. The whole month of May, starting in April 21st, when shit started happening to me, motherfuckers start throwing rituals on me and fucking with me and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? I had to actually leave Charlotte, you know what I'm saying, and get for some and do some shit. You know what I'm saying? And what's going on is they're changing the tone.
Yeah, well, see, it's the same thing was happening with that as well as the.
That's why you get so much rain.
Well, that as well as the chemtrails and all that. But one of the keys here is they're still fighting to block out these shits that's killing their ass, these rays. But one of the keys is they need the interferon also as a agent to somehow protect him. Now, apparently, this interferon, the one, because we're talking about the most potent form of melanin, because it's fresh. I mean, the shit is coming from right from the so-called astral plane or the cosmic plane, because it's coming out of children.
Well, that's the melody. The melody. Changing the damn pitch.
Well, that is, and this particular most potent form